right, welcome to Recovery Sports Grill. This is Barstool Banter, which we do every Thursday night from 7 to 9 at a sports grill here in the Capital Region. All month long, we're at this location, and next month we'll be in Rotterdam. Just to get the evening started, I want to let you all know we're giving away Yankees tickets at the end of the night, and you can win Yankees tickets by signing up to Rant. So John and I'm Chris Honorato. John and I will sort of do a little crosstalk about the hot sports topics that are going on. I'm sure obviously we'll talk about Penn State, but also baseball second half. And then we'll bring up one of our local sports agents, Ray Brownell, is in the house. We'll go around the NFL with him, talk about some of his clients he has in the NFL and just general thoughts on the season ahead. And then we open it up to you guys. We let you sign up to rant about whatever you want in the sports world. Whether it be Penn State, we'll try to keep that clean, and or baseball second half for the upcoming NFL season, or even the Olympics, if we have Olympics fans out there. So we'll do that, and then the best ranter at the end of the night takes home a pair of Yankees tickets to next Tuesday's game against the Blue Jays. So that's good stuff. They're great seats too, by the way. I mean, this is worth coming up and making a fool of yourself and getting to go to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, it's section 110, so field level seats. So sign up in a little bit. If only one person signs up, then you're going home with Yankee tickets. So.
If only one person signs up, I'll sign up too, just so there's a little bit of a challenge.
Well, Chris, it's not against the Braves, so I don't know if you want them.
Yeah, I know. I already missed that boat. All right, John, obviously the big news of the day is this Louis Free report, 8-month investigation looking into what Penn State administrators and coaches knew and when they knew what they knew about Jerry Sandusky. And as it turns out, they all seem to know, and I'm talking about head coach Joe Paterno, president Graham Spanier, and athletic director Tim Curley. They all seem to know about the 1998 incident, did nothing about it, and by nothing I mean didn't report it to police, decided that they weren't going to do that. They instead somewhat pushed Sandusky into retirement. And then you have, of course, the 2001 incident with Mike McQueary, the assistant coach, the graduate assistant at the time, who witnessed the incident in the shower. Anyway, what the report found today was that they all seemed to know what was going on, and they knowingly covered it up. Not good for Joe Paterno's legacy. I guess, John, the big question here is, what does it do to Joe Paterno's legacy? And are we talking about taking his statue down outside Beaver Stadium and taking his name off the library, which he and his wife donated millions of dollars towards?
Yeah, I mean, technically what they did was cover up a crime. I mean,
child sex.
Yeah,
crime,
I mean, that's almost as bad as covering up a murder. And you go to jail for a long time for that. So, although he's not here to pay for the offenses that he made, I think that the school has to take some steps to it's a horrible thing, and it's so hard to look at someone who's in their late 80s and was around for so long and say, oh, he's a bad guy. And I don't think he's a bad guy, but he made a really, really, really poor decision, as well as the rest of the higher ups at Penn State.
The problem here is that they repeatedly made the same decision. For 14 years, did nothing, and that's great football coach, winningest football coach in college football history, but for these four guys, and to throw Schultz into the mix as well, the vice president, for these four guys to do nothing over a 14-year span is pretty despicable. And in my mind, anyway, and I said this on the radio this morning as I've been filling in for Roger all week, makes them monsters in their own way. Certainly not to the level of Jerry Sandusky, but to be complicit and to allow him to continue this on campus is almost just as disgusting.
I mean, and it blows me away that not only did they not report it, but they saw him coming back. Even after he didn't work there anymore, they saw him coming back, and they knew...
Right, he still had a key to the athletic facility.
And I mean, just for them to see him coming back with kids, knowing what he had done, knowing what he's probably doing on their campus, it just boggles my mind. I don't know.
The bottom line of the report was basically that administrators and Joe Paterno chose to cover up the Sandusky allegations for fear of negative publicity. I mean, remember, Joe Paterno is one of these guys who would very occasionally go to the podium during a press conference and rip on a place like Florida State or some other schools in the SEC because, according to him, they weren't doing things the right way. They weren't holding their student athletes up to the same moral standard that a university like Penn State claimed to. Now this all comes out, and you have to look at Paterno's entire career differently, I think. But I think the interesting thing will be how does the Board of Trustees handle this? How does the administration handle this? Joe Paterno, Penn State football does not exist in its current state without the 61 years of work put in by Joe Paterno. So are you talking about taking down every image around Beaver Stadium of Joe Paterno and pretending like that era really just didn't exist?
Because what you would be doing is forgetting about all the tradition that you built up over the last 60 years of Penn State football. I mean, it does seem like kids still want to go there. That I hear they have a good recruiting class that came in for their football program this year, which is kind of shocking. I guess it's like they say, any press is good press. So they've been out there a lot in the media, and kids have been hearing the Penn State football name, and I guess still decided to go. But I don't know.
The other debate, aside from Paterno's legacy, is now will the NCAA step in? Are there NCAA sanctions to be had? Or is this out of their jurisdiction? Think about this. Joe Paterno is no longer with us. Sandusky will go to prison for the rest of his life. The president, the athletic director, and the vice president will all likely go to jail as well. Is there more that the NCAA needs to do? I argue I would not be opposed to the death penalty on some level. Suspension of...
Look at what happened at USC. Pete Carroll's not there anymore, and Reggie Bush was in the NFL for 2 or 3 years before they handed their penalty down to USC.
And this was incredibly minor compared to what we're talking about.
So just the simple fact that the people that were responsible for it aren't there anymore, I don't think that's going to matter.
I would hope not. I would hope this is an opportunity to make an example of a situation like this where in college athletics, coaches become way too powerful. No one's a bigger sports fan than I am, but I am so against the God status that a lot of these coaches reach at big-time Division I programs.
Well, they get paid, 10 times what the president's getting paid.
Sure. And there was a fear. I mean, in the report it says that janitors saw what Sandusky was doing in the showers, and they were afraid to report it because they didn't want to lose their job. They thought that if they made a big deal out of this, that Paterno or the president or whomever would find a way to punish them or fire them outright.
Yeah, and the other thing that they're going to argue is, although the athletic director and the president of the school were technically Joe Paterno's boss, they can argue that the stature of Joe Paterno at Penn State, he was their boss. So I'd imagine that's what their defense is going to be.
Yeah, there was no one more powerful in State College, Pennsylvania than Joe Paterno. All right, so that's one topic obviously going on today that you could come up and rant about. Baseball's second half, now just a night away. Your Mets are only 4.5 out of first place. The Yankees are 7 games up on second place Baltimore.
Your Braves are only 4 games back.
That's right, they are. I didn't want to bring that up, but yeah, they're hanging in there too. Nationals with the best record in the National League. The Pirates have the second best record in the National League.
I don't know. Baseball's upside down right now.
Yeah, it's like the early '90s all over again with the Expos and the Pirates playing really well. So we can talk baseball too. What does your gut tell you on whether or not the Mets hang around all the way through September and challenge for a wild card spot?
I mean, I think it totally depends on how their pitching holds up. If Santana stays healthy, it's almost impossible to ask for Dickey to do what he did in the first half. And you saw he came back to earth a little bit in the last couple starts before the All-Star break. So, I don't know if you can count on Dickey to be as good as he's been. So, it's tough. I think they've been playing as well as they can play with the team they have. A lot of the young guys have stepped up. A lot of the guys who were at the beginning of the season, you didn't even know how to pronounce their last name.
Jordani Valdespin. Yeah. Out of nowhere.
So, it's really hard to ask these guys to go a full season doing what they did that whole first half. But, it'd be great to see if they could. Maybe now that they're in it halfway through, they make a trade. I know that Jonathan Broxton's name came up.
Yeah.
They were talking about a couple other starters, but that's what they need. They need to fix that bullpen.
They're a great story in the first half, and David Wright's been terrific. I don't know that he can continue to hit 350 the rest of the season, but one thing I read today that I like a lot is that they're planning in September and maybe even late August to throwing R.A. Dickey every 3 days instead of every 5. Obviously, the knuckleball doesn't put the amount of stress on the arm that a regular pitcher would have, So that's something they could do. They lose Dylan G. I would have to imagine he's done for the season with his right shoulder injury. So you lose that starter. And you're talking about Neese, Santana, Dickey as your top three. I think that's still pretty good. And if they make a trade, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And starting Dickey every third start, it's a great idea if he can do it. But if his numbers start to seriously fall off, you got to question it. And you can't set him out there every third day and expect him to throw 110 pitches.
Right.
Now you're going to be limiting his pitch count on every start. It might be better to look for some pitching help somewhere else.
Yanks open the second half at home against the Angels, who look really good right now. They started real slow out of the gate, but ever since they brought up this kid Mike Trout, they've completely taken off, and even Pujols has gotten his bat going.
How about that Trumbo? Did you watch him in the home run derby?
He is something, man. He is something. They've got some big time. I mean, this series, Angels and Yankees, is going to be a home run derby redux. I mean, the ball could be flying out of Yankee Stadium this weekend.
I mean, is that the American League Championship Series?
I think the Rangers are better than both those teams. I also think the Rangers have shown in past years, the past 2 years specifically at the deadline, to go out and get a big name. And they are reportedly interested in Zach Greinke. They're reportedly interested in Cole Hamels. So I think they could make a big move for a starter, and I think that certainly puts them over the top over the Yankees or the Angels to be the favorite in the AL.
Now you mentioned Zach Greinke. Did you hear the news about Mr. Greinke? He'll be making history tomorrow night. Zach, he pitched on. I guess it was Saturday. Got thrown out of the game after 4 pitches.
Yep.
So he started Sunday's game because he's ready to go. And now they went on an all-star break off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, coming back Friday with him starting again. So 3 consecutive starts for the Brewers, Zach Greinke.
Clearly they are giving him every chance to audition for other teams.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's 9-3. He's got like a 3.2.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a solid pitcher. And, there's going to be teams that are looking for pitching, obviously.
I know the Braves are looking.
The Yankees are probably looking, too.
Yeah, they would be. They would be. So... All right, so we're going to bring up our local sports agent, Ray Brownell, here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk some NFL with him. And
I want to know how Hakeem Nicks is doing.
That's a good question for Ray. Will he be ready for the start of camp? That may be pushing it. But will he at least be in Albany on the practice field while the Giants are here? They're only here for an abbreviated amount of time this year. So will we see him on the practice field? I know a lot of fans certainly hope so. But look, the most important thing is getting him right for week 1. So we'll ask Ray that. We'll also talk about the Jets and the Bills, the other local teams of interest. And we'll go around the rest of the league with him.
All right, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll bring Ray.